So, I recently casted these two playing a best of 7 series against one another. And it must have been the fastest best of 7 that I casted all year, because it was a 4-0 win for Mr. MaxPax in about 25 minutes time. His opponent once more today, playing with the red Zerg drones. We have none other than a Rogue. So they played the tournament grand finals, the big Lulu Cup. And that one was extremely one-sided. Going into this series, I think it's fair to say that, well, once more, MaxPax is going to be the favorite, but from what I understand, this one is going to be a lot more competitive. And there's no denying that Rogue has been cooking up some really cool strategies as of late, specifically for the Zerg versus Terran matchup. So in that previous finals they played, this was, I believe, for like $3,000, so quite a significant amount of money. Rogue just never got going. MaxPax just shut him down left, right, and center, and Rogue just did not play as good an early game as he should have. It's pretty clear that if you don't play pretty much flawlessly against MaxPax, he's going to punish you, and he's going to punish you within the next minute or two. MaxPax is looking pretty much unstoppable in this matchup right now, so I'm hoping here for Rogue that he's got something new in mind for us, because so far, it seems like MaxPax has got his number. Now, just to clarify, this is not played with the new multiplayer balance patch. That one is still on the public test realm. It is still on the test server right now. None of those changes are finalized yet, although, well, historically, whenever there's a new patch that gets announced, usually within about a month or so, Blizzard just sort of copy-pastes it to the live version of the game. That's what happened for years now, so I'm hoping that this time around we are going to see some adjustments. Specifically, well, for some of the Terran changes. Looking at them a little bit more, letting the changes sink in for a little bit longer, I don't really like some of the challenges that Terrans will certainly pose, and I'm also a little bit uncertain about the Nexus overcharge ability, the energy ability. I think for this matchup though, if we do have a Nexus ability, so basically they're changing the ability for the battery overcharge and they're adding an energy boost for units instead, Oracle builds, like the one that MaxPax likes to go for, are going to be quite a bit more powerful. Because you can go across the map, deal a bunch of damage, go back home, or I guess you could even save up energy on the Nexus and just boost your Oracle right as it comes out. Now that I'm thinking about it, that might be even better. So we are definitely going to be seeing changes as well in this matchup. It's going to be exciting to see how it plays out, but those changes are not quite live. And I can imagine that it's going to be a little bit until we actually will have tournament games for most of the PTR. If any, honestly. That's one of the downsides of having a public test realm. Generally speaking, not a lot of people play on it. The pro gamers, well, they don't have any tournaments to play on the PTR usually, unless somebody hosts them. And usually pro gamers are also not really the most flexible, I've noticed. Whenever they are asked to play on, like, I don't know, a new balance patch or a custom mod, they will just play their old build orders until it doesn't work anymore. And then they will finally start making adjustments. But if it's like your first, I don't know, best of 3 or so on a new patch, generally speaking, I guess it's going to be kind of difficult to, yeah, really make any adjustments. MaxPax also not somebody who, in my mind, is particularly flexible. He's very good at playing rock-solid StarCraft. But I don't really see him as a super flexible, a very nimble player. He's very, very standard with his execution. And definitely somebody who got very good just by refining over the course of a lot of games. So anyways, let's see. First Oracle comes in, doesn't really achieve much. Second Oracle is going to be out in a moment. Third Nexus was delayed for just a little bit here with a pesky little Zergling, but nothing all too crazy here. Standard timing though, on the third Nexus, all things considered. Oracle goes around the site, gets one drone. I wonder if you would want to boost your second Oracle. So imagine that this guy has like another 100 energy or so. It would come at the cost of a chrono boost. Yeah, the more I think about the new Nexus ability, the more I do like it. I'm just a little concerned about the removal of shield battery overcharge. Because, yeah, I wonder if it's going to make Protoss a little bit too susceptible to damage early on. But I guess only time will tell. Okay, nice little zappies. 4 additional drones, 5 additional drones, all of the Oracles stay alive. I would say that MaxPax probably does Oracle Micro better than anybody else right now. Sometimes Hero looks unstoppable with Oracles. But sometimes Hero looks awfully like Hero, and then we might just see an accidental or army hotkey on these guys straight through the main base of the Zerg. And you're like, okay, Hero, that was some really nice Oracle control, but then we decided to all army hotkey them straight through the bases. I'm wondering, by the way, how the Spore Crawler buff will work out as well in this particular matchup. I can imagine that the Spore Crawler dealing slightly more damage might affect Oracles too, but I'm not exactly sure how the numbers line up. I really don't think Oracle should be easier to kill. Queen's obviously becoming 175 minerals, 25 minerals more expensive, is likely going to reduce the amount of, Queens that we will see early on, so maybe the Spore Crawler needs to be more powerful. Honestly, a lot of it is up in the air right now in my mind. The changes that really do have me concerned are specifically the ones for Terran. The Liberator buff seems to be insane to me. Anyways, couple of depths sneak in. And this is reminiscent of that series that we saw them play previously. So it's not really going terribly right here for Rogue. But he did lose 9 drones already. And while he's cutting a few corners, in this particular instance, for example, he's decided to skip the Roach Warren. He doesn't yet have a Baneling Nest or anything along those lines. So he's decided to go straight Lair, straight Hydra then. He's still not economically ahead, despite cutting a lot of resources. Oh! Never mind. Thought for a second we were going for Lair Tech Lurkers, but he decided to cancel the Lurker den and build it into an infestation pit instead. Zerglings running around. +1 melee is going to finish up. Oracles will continue harassing. This Oracle would be dead in the new patch, but obviously MaxPax wouldn't have dived that deep. Yeah, MaxPax is really good at just... This is not necessarily very spectacular to look at, right? But he's very good at just dealing more damage. It kind of reminds me a lot of the way that Serral plays. Like, the way Serral plays isn't particularly flashy. He just does a really good job playing quote-unquote normal. So this Nexus is definitely not going to happen. Hydras are coming, though. +1 melee is finishing. Stalkers are pretty deep onto creep. Can we, bring the Observer close by to get rid of some of those tumors? We sure can. Nexus will start up again. Interestingly enough, we're building it over here on the high ground. Pretty aggressive positioning right there. Hydras are quite good, though, together with Zerglings here, to fight back those Stalkers. But already, MaxPax has cooked up a Robo Bay, and he's gonna be extending his Thermal Lance on the Colossi. Well, not yet. We do need that upgrade. I've actually noticed that MaxPax is not somebody who's in a hurry when it comes to the extended Thermal Lance upgrade. A lot of Protoss players will, well, sometimes even start up the ranged upgrade before even making a single Colossus. It's one of those upgrades that is so pivotal that you can't really forget it. But MaxPax is never in a hurry. So we've gone for the charge upgrade. We're going +2 in the Forge. First Colossus is just about to pop. Still no ranged upgrade on the Colossus. Well, he should have definitely started it up by now, though. I'm hoping for his sake that he's not forgetting it. Because that would be painful. He's adding on additional gateways. We're going Templar Archives. Ah, I think what we're doing actually is just one Colossus. So he's making a Colossus, he's showing it to the opponent. It's going to force out a bunch of Vipers, I'm sure, as soon as the hive finishes. But he's only really made one Colossus here. So I don't actually think you need any sort of Vipers against this sort of thing. Zerg is usually quite starved for gas at this stage in the game, although a second one does come up right now. Lurkers are morphing in, ranged upgrade coming up as well for those bad boys. I think Rogue should be okay. But so far, so good right here for MaxPax. He's got that 4th base up and running. We're gonna build some static defense over here. Colossi are very good, even without their ranged, of course, when it comes to roasting Zerglings. They're gonna have a hard time staying within range of the Hydralisks, but against the Lynx, they'll be okay. Look how aggressive Max is being as well. Generally speaking, it's the Zerg that gets to decide the pacing here, but not quite the case. Storm coming up on the back of this. Additional robo facilities too. So I would imagine we're gonna go bowling. Wow. A lot of damage here being done, actually. Yeah, 3,500 minerals have already gone down on the side of the Zerg. So the only real criticism I have so far of MaxPax is the fact that he doesn't have the ranged upgrade for the Colossus. Now he's using it aggressively. There we go. Now he realizes it. That definitely was a mistake. So MaxPax is human after all? I mean, there is a running theory that he might be a robot. There's a lot of theories, actually, as far as MaxPax's identity goes, as we do have a Nidus network coming up right now. Some people believe that he might be a Danish prince. Some people believe that he might be a retired pro gamer who's decided to come back under a different username. Some people believe he's an artificial intelligence. Maybe we are all MaxPax. Much like Alpharius, we are all MaxPax. Okay, there's one Marauder here, or Immortal Marauder, working on Zerglings. Generally speaking, not the best target. Keep in mind that this is triple Robo. We also have a fleet beacon on the back of this too here for MaxPax. He's fighting in the meantime on the other side of the map. Next is on the high ground here for Max, who's just slowly advancing onwards. He's keeping tabs on where Zerg is currently located, and he realizes, yo, I am not really in a hurry. And this is the type of game that really makes me wonder what you even do as Zerg. Like, this is by no means a poorly played match so far by Rogue. But Rogue is getting outclassed up until this point in the match at the very least. Now, that does not mean that he's not going to win. He's maxed out after all, and he's got a good amount of resources. Maybe a Nidus Worm can change the tide of battle. But this is looking like one of those games where MaxPax is slowly but surely gobbling up everything Zerg. This Nidus over here could be really nice, though. Those Zealots are actually a little bit late. Yep, so they're not going to be able to stop the warp in. And we have seen MaxPax struggle against this in the past. He's probably so focused on trying to micro over on the other side of the map that he does not quite, well, point one of his eyeballs. Maybe Protoss players can move their eyeballs independently, I don't know. Maybe he's a chameleon, there's no way to know. Anyways, he doesn't point one of his eyeballs to the mini-map, and that suddenly right now opens up an opportunity for Rogue to head across the map, and he's gonna try and grab it with both hands. In the meantime, though, there is a little bit of a Zealot run by too. Mama ship coming up. Looks like the aggression over on the left side at the 4th base has been dealt with. Another network will go up inside of the main. A couple of the reinforcing lurkers, apparently, they have been caught on the way back. Crisis management here from MaxPax has been excellent. It would have been easier if he just didn't have to deal with that Nidus network in the first place. Made it a little bit difficult for himself. But looking at the supply count right now, it's telling us the full story. This is a Protoss player who's made all the investments into a Skytles army too. So this is not just him focusing on a ground-based unit composition. Like, this man is ready to play some proper late game. Corruptors are coming though, and that's going to be a much better answer than Hydralisks against both Tempest as well as Carriers. Now, Carriers are not here yet, but that is the natural transition right now, if he wants to at least. Corruptors are going to be the right choice against the both of them. Mothership for now, 300 minerals, 300 gas. That is one of the changes I do like with the new patch. So the Mothership is going to deal substantially more damage, but it's also going to go back up to everybody's beloved minus 400, minus 400. It will still be abductable, though, by just a single Viper. Which is actually a good thing. There's a lot of people that say that you shouldn't be able to abduct a Mothership. It's really the only answer Zerg has against a Mothership, though. So it's a little... Like, in the past, you could neural parasite the Mothership. That was a little nuts. I think abducting it is reasonable, especially considering most of the players that I see use the Mothership don't really put it on a separate control group. They don't really treat it very well. Always treat your mama ship. Always treat her well is what I'm saying, okay? Call your mama ship. It's very important. Mama's going in deep. Where are we going? Okay. Back home. She was just on her daily stroll. Maybe we should have actually gone over here instead. Maybe we should have sent it into the main base to recall his army away, because now these Corruptors are going in pretty deep. One of the Archons here in the back not participating in this engagement at all. And this is quite a blunder here from MaxPax. Then again, the majority of this army that still remains, we're going to recall 2 Mama. Most of the army that still remains over there, well, I guess it was not something that the Corruptors could target down. The rocks needed to be destroyed because apparently some of the units got stuck on the wrong side. And that honestly made this game a little bit more tricky than it absolutely needed to be. Yeah, ultimately, Rogue right now is finding himself with quite an army. Overextension from MaxPax. Rogue immediately grabbed that opportunity with both hands. Getting some good value here as well. One of the Tempests goes down. He's ready to park these units on top of the Stargates. Sometimes you can accidentally catch yourself with a couple of free units as they pop out of that production structure. This is a bit overly aggressive, though. Loses like an additional 5 of those Corruptors for no apparent reason. My main concern right here for Rogue, though, is that his economy is really not that great. It's nothing terrible, and he's actually managed to keep most of his workers around, so that's good. But if we're looking at his economy, I really think he needs this base over here, or maybe even the one over here. This is a difficult location for Protoss to scout. MaxPax has had an eye out on the bottom right-hand corner for a very long time. He doesn't quite know about the other bases, though. Okay, so ultimately we are ending up with Corruptors, Vipers, and Lurkers. It's a strange unit composition, but it can certainly work. Stalkers going in from the left, reinforcing Zerglings as well as a mineral dump. This is still a very strong army here, though, from the Protoss player. Keep in mind that Archons deal damage in a little splash area. So, if you get them, yeah, against these clumped up Corruptors, they can get rid of them very rapidly. That was a much better fight from MaxPax than the one that we saw previously. We have a Zealot as well now, apparently. On patrol duty. To make sure that no more Nidus network goes up into the main base unscouted. The Skytol's ball is growing. There's still a lot of army on the ground as well. One of the Vipers running dangerously low. Mama is gonna get abducted, but at the cost of a Viper. Quite a few of the Corruptors also took a beating there. Stalkers in the meantime. Ooh, we'll finish the job over here. Lovely. Gonna stick around for a little bit longer before escaping over the mineral wall. It's a lot of Archons right now. How many Immortals are we on? Just 4. 6 Archons, 4 Immortals. It's not really good enough to really walk over any of these ground units from the Zerg. And this is a dangerous one right now. Rogue is trying to see if he can collapse on top of this entire Protoss army. There are a few Templar in the mix. I think about 2 Storms. Plus 3 air weapons coming up. Tempest will be joining in with the main army too. 1 Lurker on a bit of a stroll. Not going to achieve much. Slowly but surely, though, in a game like this, Rogue will start fizzling out. His economy has been decent, but like I said, nothing really amazing. Whereas MaxPax, he's not in a hurry either to really expand because he knows how much economy the Zerg player has. So his build here, his strategy is mostly just to try and keep the Zerg player occupied and make it difficult for them to really grab any additional bases. He's doing very calculated run-bys here. And while there was a major error for MaxPax, he's been pretty obviously in the driver's seat of this match here. We do have a commitment. Some of the Lurkers trying to get underneath. A couple Immortals joining in as well. Shield battery overcharge. Enjoy it while it still exists. Rogue absolutely outplayed in game number 1. This was looking much better than the best of 7 they played. It took MaxPax 19 minutes to dismantle the Zerg, but ultimately this game could only really have one ending. Next up, we find ourselves on Golden Aura. Game number 2 in this best of 3 series. I fast forwarded through the first couple of minutes of the game just because nothing all too exciting happened. Very normal builds. MaxPax attempted to go for a hatchery block on the other side of the map, but Rogue once more going for a fast enough hatchery so he can get away with it, and he will be following this up with a nice and early third base as well. Getting the hatchery blocked, of course, at this level generally doesn't do that much. Once more, Rogue is gonna, be going up against the good old Stargate. I'm assuming we're gonna see triple Oracle every single game. And it seems with the new energy boost for the Nexus, right? The one that is proposed on the public test server right now, that this build will only be more popular. It doesn't really sway any Protoss player into anything else, other than maybe. So what you can do with the energy ability is you can overcharge a High Templar as well. You can give a High Templar enough energy for 2 storms. I don't know if that means you can actually go for any sort of like storm drops against like Zerg, for example. Technically, it might be possible. Since it has a 1-minute global cooldown, though, I don't think it's going to be great. Anyways, quite a few links going around the map. Nice control here, though, from MaxPax, who will be able to shut this down with relative ease. Easy body block. So 1 probe, 8 Zerglings. I think that's a trait that he will be relatively happy with. We had a drone going down over here. What just killed the drone? Sorry. Ah, 2 Adepts were still here. I was going to say, I saw a corpse of a drone. I recognize the corpse of drones from a mile away. So this is while those Zerglings are going to town on the other side of the map. Yeah, there it is. Brenda's Brood. A little bit sad, but it happened. Not ideal, though, here for Max. So losing 1 Adept for 1 Oracle, or 1 Adept for 1 drone, not quite what you're aiming for. Here's the Oracle coming in. The early game defense against these Oracles was really strong. And it looks like in this game, it's not going to be much different. Maybe 2 workers? No. Just the 1 for now. Keyword for now, because we're going to swoop straight on over towards the natural. Quick pull right there, though, by the Zerg. So, at the very least, the majority of those workers stayed alive. Gonna target fire down. Okay. Couple larvae, force in another one of those drone morphs. Oracle number 2 swoops into the natural expansion. Still no Spore Crawler built. Without a Spore Crawler build, suddenly we now have 7 drones going down. Yeah, it's tricky, man. This was looking like a stellar start for Rogue, and then about a minute later, it's looking very shaky. Like, nothing has really changed on this production tab, except for another 7 workers going down. Third Nexus here of Protoss is at a nice, conventional time. We've got ourselves the Twilight Council together with the Forge coming up. So it should just be good old Blink again with +1 ground attacks. Oracle number 3 coming in. Do we have a Spore yet? Well, it's building. And that's 10 drones. 10 drones going down early on. You can see in the worker count right now that that makes the game very solid right here for the Protoss. Will we go charge? Will we go blink? Will we go glaive the depth? Honestly, all of it is possible. It should just be blink. Max actually warped in a bunch more adepts. Doesn't really have the minerals right now. It's gonna be charge. Okay. Charge together with like Storm, for example, or just Archons. You can turn it into a really nice all-in. Good positioning right here on those adepts, although there are quite a few queens nearby. Gonna shade on over towards the natural after killing a handful of drones. Quite a few Zerglings ended up going down there as well. Keep in mind, of course, that adepts don't really have a lot of use the longer that the game goes on. MaxPax faking now a Stalker follow-up, as he's warping in a couple Stalkers at home. We will have 1 Zealot here too, but yeah, another Stalker does make a bit more sense. Oracles have come back home too. Okay, so there's the Templar Archives coming up, so that's gonna allow him to warp in High Templar and then ultimately make in a bunch of Archons too. And here are additional gateways. So 8 gateways in total. It looks to me like we're gonna go for a Archon Zealot all-in. Is this a situation where you can get away with it? Well, once more, no Roach Warren, no Baneling Nest. And I think that's what MaxPax is looking at here too, just like in the previous game. There's really nothing that Rogue has that's going to be good against those units, other than maybe just a bunch of Queens, Zerglings, and Hydras. And all of those units are quite susceptible to a Zealot push. So Archons are being morphed in. Charge is going to finish up. +1. It's going to allow those Zealots to 2-shot Zerglings rather than 3-shot them. Big buff. Archons will be spotted right now. Hydras, unupgraded, will be coming up. We do need to get a little bit of a move on though, Max, because this is on a clock right now. Where's the rest of the Zealots? We don't really have that many. They're not all over here though. A couple Zerglings here being annoying. He's gonna commit right now. That's a lot of Overlords rather caught in that radius too. One of the Oracles did end up going down. I don't think this is it. Nah, maybe. He's gonna try. He kind of needs to try. He needs to do some sort of damage. It looks like the Hydras will just barely stay alive. Whew, that was close. Those pesky lings on the other side of the map may have actually just saved Rogue's day. Because if those 4 Zealots were part of that army, I wonder how much better the attack would have been. Now imagine this sort of early game after Zerg only loses like 2 drones. Right, so rather than losing 13 drones to the Oracles and the 2 Adepts and whatnot, and the follow-up Adepts, like imagine if Protoss only killed like 2 workers here, like the ones that we see against, say for example, Serral. Serral's early game defense is so stellar. A push like that with Archon Zealot just doesn't do anything. He will just have like an additional 6, 7, 8 Hydras. And that's exactly why that early game is such a critical part of StarCraft 2. It's really easy to look at the game and be like, oh yeah, just don't take damage. But the end result is so massive, and this also is huge. Couple of those Oracles. That's all 3 of them actually now gone. Okay, this is going much better here for Rogue. I like the decision from MaxPax, but it turned out that a Rogue still played a good game. Not really mis-macroing. Zealots trying to get some worker damage done. Okay, they did kill a Queen. Colossi coming up. Blinkstalker will be the follow-up here too. So ultimately, all the roads do lead towards the same unit comp. Once more, we have a Colossus without ranged being aggressive. This time around, though, we do have a much quicker one. Oh, okay. Is there enough here for Zerg to prevent a retreat? I think it might just. Okay. One of the Colossi, a little bit misrallied. Thermal Lance, though, is done right now, so that means that those Colossi have their maximum range. Zealots still try and create a lot of chaos. Looks like the Prism has gone down on the right side of the map, with those Queens basking in their glory right there for just a little bit. Okay, so this is a very similar game as the previous one, except Rogue is in a much better position. So it's all looking pretty much identical. But Rogue has not really taken critical damage. His economy is significantly better than in the previous game. And while this is by no means a game-winning situation for him just yet, it is something that he can maybe build up. It still means, though, that you have to overwhelm MaxPax. MaxPax is once more going Fleet Beacon. He's already adding on additional Stargates. This is Rogue's opportunity, and he may have just found one. He's left a bunch of lurkers at home as well. There is one observer in the mix, but recall will be used. Recall, whenever you're dealing with lurkers, is dangerous. Looks like the majority of the lurkers, though, was not quite in position. Zealots on the right side of the map in the meantime, trying to be annoying too. They're going to be able to get a kill. Couple of Zealots trying their best to walk through that army, and they achieved it, but they also died. Storm is only about maybe 2/3 of the way done. Zealots desperately trying to buy time. Another Queen falls over at that base. But well handled here by the reinforcing Zerg units. We're once more heading on over towards Corruptor. So interestingly enough, a Rogue is not rushing up towards any sort of Viper play. Most of the time, whenever we see this sort of army here from the Protoss, we will see Zerg players immediately going into Vipers. But Rogue apparently does not add those on until he's already deep into Corruptor territory. I think it's probably better, to be honest, to make like 2 or 3 Vipers here, but Rogue disagrees. Now this is a difficult map to attack on. This is one of those situations where Brute Lords would have been a hell of a lot easier. Because the lurkers have to go around the corner or destroy the rocks. That now means that maybe he got a little bit over eager. Yeah, Rogue is gonna get cleaned up for that first chunk of his army. I think there might still be enough, though, here for the Zerg player. Oh, he's thinking about diving. Oh, he's gonna try and see if he can get into a better position. It looks like he got there. Large group of zealots was ready to move out towards the other side of the map, but they are gonna be needed at home. As the probes decide to evacuate, they're trying to run away. Tempest here in the air, though. Do we still have an observer? We do not have an observer. All of the oracles are gone, too, so there's no way to really have vision of those lurkers right now, and that's gonna make it difficult to get the, well, yeah, the retreat done with those probes. Where are we going, lads? We're going camping. Yeah, he needs detection. Without detection, so he's actually supply blocked right now. Without the supply block, he's not gonna be able to make any observers. Oh, we're gonna recall. Okay. Camping trip is over. At least most of them stayed alive. But right now, MaxPax is in a very similar boat as the one that Rogue was in previously. His economy is very limited, and while technically this is quite a playable game for him, he is on 3 bases right now, going up against the Zerg, who just took a 6th. Yes, he's building carriers. Yes, he's building a nice Skytools fleet. Yes, he's got himself a strong army. But he's in desperate need of money. Corruptors, hunting the Colossus, hunting all of those Tempests. Not a lot of Archons in the mix. So we can actually just jump straight into this Protoss army. You can storm this, but of course storm deals friendly fire too. So yeah, you might not want to be dealing that much damage to your own fleet, but the alternative is not very good either. It's going to be a Rogue who will even up the score. Next up, our final game for today. It will take place on Alcyone. By the way, one thing that wasn't mentioned in the PTR balance patch notes was 6 new maps. I haven't yet played any games yet on the new maps, but apparently they are currently live as well on the public test realm. I'm assuming that means that 6 maps are gonna be retired from the current map pool. I don't know which ones. But at the very least, it's nice to see that alongside the new patch, we are also gonna get new maps. It means that we get a little bit of fresh air in StarCraft, right? I've actually noticed that over like the last couple months, there's been a bit of an influx as far as YouTube views go. So there's still a lot of folks interested in watching StarCraft 2. So shout out if you're new, by the way. Welcome. If you have any questions, let me know. I try my very best to hopefully make these casts watchable. Not just for people that are very familiar with the game, but also if you don't literally watch every single match. I sometimes have the tendency, I noticed that especially back in the day, to really only talk about in-depth analysis and be, you know, he's 5 seconds late, right? That was me, impersonating myself. Anyways, I think it's more fun to hopefully make it a little bit more appealing to people that aren't as familiar. But if you have any questions, if I brush over any details, do let me know. It's okay, I embarrass myself on the internet every day. In case you're unfamiliar, I stream a lot. Actually, one thing I never mention in any of my YouTube videos is that I stream like 40 hours a week. You should come hang out. Yeah, that'd be nice. As a matter of fact, as I'm recording this, I'm streaming right now. Twitch.tv/LowkoTV. Anyways, 1 kill so far on the Oracle. We have additional gateways coming up. This is 4 gateways, though, before a 3rd. That's a little bit funky. We're gonna have to keep an eye out on exactly what the plan right here for MaxPax is. Twilight Council was also built. Are we gonna go good old glaives? Yes, sir. It'll be the glaives upgrade. Resonating glaives. Oh. We're gonna donate an Oracle. That was not resonating. But at least the glaives are. So the plan here is to deal a bunch of damage. Now, luckily for Rogue, he's already read this quite nicely, as he's building a Baneling Nest for the very first time in this series. We have a lair that's been delayed until about the 5-minute mark. Actually, it's not really delayed. This is just a faster Banelingness, more so than anything else. We should probably go into +1 melee too, but if he can make a bunch... There we go. If he can make a bunch of Banelings here, by the time that those Adepts show up, he should be okay. The only problem, and this is why I do like this push on this map, is that MaxPax can very easily take control of the Watchtower. It is not easy. We do have a Void Ray as well, trying to be annoying. It is not easy here for Zerg to take control of the Watchtower and actually see this sort of thing coming in. So look at how split up all these Adepts were. They were hiding in all of the nooks and crannies of the Protoss base, but ultimately they will come together on the other side of the map to try and see if they can deal crippling amounts of damage here to the Zerg player. Lings are coming up. How many Banelings do we have? 2! That's not enough. That's not a lot. That's not enough. We're gonna need a little bit more. Well, a third one just finished. Maybe like, yeah, a dozen or so would be good. Drones are already falling over at the third base. There is a Ling run by in the meantime at home, but obviously Adepts are not just phenomenal at dealing damage to drones, but also to Zerglings. Although we are gonna have to put them in the right location. With a push like that, though, with all of those drones going down on the other side of the map, it already means, right, with the links produced, that Rogue willingly lowered his economy. So, as nice as his run by is, unless the Banelings can kill another mineral line worth, I think this is not a winning build for Rogue. Like, he cannot reliably fight those Adepts until at least +1 melee is done, and even then, the Adepts are still going to be superior in most straight-up engagements. When you pull the drones against, well, Adepts that have 40% additional attack speed, life is tricky. Zergling run by over at the third base. I think Rogue probably finds a lot of success on the Korean server against a lot of Protoss players, doing exact strategies like this. But when the crisis management of the Protoss is on point, and this is by no means flawless here from MaxPax, but MaxPax is really good in these sort of situations, you just fall horribly behind. Look at the worker count right now. MaxPax doesn't need to be attacking. This is a continued all-in here from Rogue, but I don't think MaxPax is really too concerned about it. He'll be more than happy to meet these units out on the map. He's gonna have to split his Adepts. Maruhu! He's splitting his Adepts against Banelings. They do join back together though, now that the Banelings are gone. You do kind of want them to hug one another to reduce the service area against Zerglings. Yeah, ultimately there's no way in. Rogue is like, why don't you just use the all-army hotkey like all the guys I go up against? Well, ultimately it's MaxPax who obtains the victory 2-1 over Rogue.